Hey everybody, Brett from AstartesGaming here, back with another update on my Warhammer 40k tabletop blog. So it's been a while since I've posted a video regarding the blog, but it hasn't been that long since I've posted on the blog itself. In fact, I posted a video on it, or excuse me, not video, I added a post to it last night. Actually tonight for me, but last night for you guys. Going over a new list build, and prior to that, throughout the week I had been updating the blog on my progress with some of the scout snipers, particularly the conversions I was doing on them, and then the painting scheme. So I'm actually going to start there and go chronologically rather than from newest to oldest. So let's go all the way down, and just going to review these guys real quick. As you can see here, I took some regular scout snipers, and I did not like the traditional scout head on them. On the regular scouts, I don't mind it so much, but the guys with the sniper rifles and the camo cloaks, it looks weird to just have their regular, heads exposed. And so I wanted to find something cloaked that would sort of fit in with the camo cloak that they're wearing. And I really liked the look of these Chaos Cultist heads. The problem is I couldn't get them in any real quantity. Because of how diverse the Chaos Cultist squads are, if you try to order Chaos Cultist heads, for every 10 or 15 that you order, you're only going to get like 3 of these guys. And so I would have had to order like 100 to get enough of these heads to do what I wanted to do. So I found an alternative, and that was the Skitarii Ranger heads from the Skitarii Ranger / Vanguard box. So I just ordered like 15 of the heads for a couple dollars rather than buying a whole box of Skitarii. And I'm fairly happy with how they looked on the bodies. The head is actually the perfect size because the Scout Marines are slightly smaller than the regular Space Marines, and the Skitarii heads are slightly smaller as well. About the same size as a Guardsman maybe. So they fit really well, but I did have to carve out quite a bit of the neck and shoulder area on the scouts to get them to sit properly. I also had to clip the little ball joint on the bottom of the heads themselves because the scouts don't have that, whereas everything else seems to. So it took a little bit of chopping, but I did get them on there, as you can see here. And so I plan to do this with all of my scout snipers, but on the standard scouts, I'm going to leave the regular heads because I think they look fine there. Obviously, it would look a bit strange to have these on Scout Marines that didn't have a camo cloak as well. And so I just go into a little bit more detail about what it took to do that, how I went about doing the conversion in detail if you want to do something similar or you're just interested in how I did it. And then I talk a little bit about how I'm going to paint them. And I have a reference image here from Dawn of War Dark Crusade, which is probably my favorite Dawn of War game. If you compare the picture of the scout here to the ones in Dawn of War 2, for example, the colors are a little bit different. Obviously, they're going to have red armor, but the Dawn of War 2 scouts have a much lighter uniform and then a much darker thing on their legs here. I quite like the dark uniform here and the lighter thing on their foot. It looks to me sort of like a hiking gaiter, like to keep mud and snow and stuff out of your boots. And I think the lighter color on it really sells that. And so I decided I was going to paint them like this. And so the next post I went through and showed, how they sort of looked. This is a work in progress, so these are by no means done. I still need to clean them up quite a bit. But this is the general color scheme I'm going for. However, I wasn't happy with how light the gray cloaks came out. And so I do mention that. If you think they're too light as well, feel free to let me know either in the comments on here or on the video. But I do think they're too light. I want them more of a charcoal color. Obviously, they do need to be cleaned up quite a bit. The gold is not finished. I basically washed it and then never put another coat over it. Also, I'm not happy with how the cabling came out. I thought that doing like a black and yellow stripe would look cool, but the stripes are not at all clean. And on something this size, it's really difficult to get them clean. Also, I think that the yellow looks a bit out of place on these guys because there's really nothing else that is yellow or anything similar on there, so it's a bit stark. in that way. So I might just paint them all black. Or another thing I was thinking of doing is clipping the cable off up here and then super gluing on like a magazine of some kind, whether from like a bolter or something like that. So it looks like they actually have, you know, ballistic rounds rather than these. To me, look more like they're like las guns because, you know, they're being charged by something. They're not actually feeding it ammo. Which I was always under the impression that the Scout Marines used ballistic snipers, but I guess I was mistaken. Anywho, let me know what you guys think. Again, very much a work in progress. They're going to look cleaner when I'm done. The bases haven't been touched at all. The faces need a lot of cleanup work. The cloaks need to be repainted. And again, I'm not sure what to do with the cables, but they may go completely. Then finally, I updated my list a bit. This is a new list. The original one was an 1850 point list, which is a more common game size. 2000 is less common. That's going to be a pretty big game, but I figured I'd put out lists for like every common point size, just because obviously it's good to have several lists if you're going to be playing other people, because you don't know what someone's going to ask you, like, hey, let's play a game, and they're going to have a list for a certain point value and yours might be different. So the more, you know, lists you have prepared, the easier that will be to mix and match and play other people. So the big thing about this one is that it incorporates the other special character for the Imperial Fist, which is Darnath Lysander. Now, he's an absolute beast. At 230 points, he is probably the hardest hitting and most durable character available to the Space Marines, with a couple exceptions. But, I mean, overall, I would argue he's probably one of the most durable characters for any Space Marine codex, whether you're doing like Blood Angels, what's it called, Dark Angels, regular Space Marines, or Grey Knights. But I think he complements Pedro really, really nicely, because the thing about Pedro Cantor is he is more of a support type character. He's like the force multiplier guy. He's got a lot of great buffs. He can dish out some punishment, but he's not really designed to take it. Whereas Lysander is the epitome of a beat stick. So you just like, you send him into the mobs, you send him into whatever your enemy's toughest thing is, and he's going to take a beating and dish one out. And so I think they complement each other really nicely in that way, where he's obviously going to be the biggest threat on the board as far as the enemy's concerned. Meanwhile, Pedro can run around and do his thing without being like focus fired on, because he's no longer, you know, the primary concern on the board. And to complement Lysander even further, what I decided to do is I swapped out my tactical Terminator squad with the assault cannon for assault Terminators with thunder hammers and storm shields. And that basically, between that upgrade and this upgrade, that ate up the extra 150 points that well, 140 points. So you can see I'm 10 under here. I don't know what to throw them on, but I think that's like the perfect escort for him. Basically, you deep strike him and the assault Terminators in somewhere, and then you just let them destroy whatever's in their path. I also decided, and this is sort of a revision of the previous list as well. On the Vanguard Veteran, I had the Vanguard Veteran squad, excuse me. The Sergeant had a plasma pistol and a power sword, and I decided that that was kind of stupid, because in the 1750 list, I had them running with a chaplain who has his Crozius Arcanum and a plasma pistol as well. And so it didn't really make sense for them both to have a plasma pistol, for one. But the other thing is, typically you don't give sergeants weapons like power fists or thunder hammers, because it makes them strike at initiative 1, which means they're hitting last. So everything that they're fighting has a chance to kill them before they actually get to use the weapon. The other issue is, if somebody challenges you, that becomes an even bigger issue, because then he's completely isolated without the rest of the squad to sort of pick up the slack for him. So in having the chaplain there, it sort of protects the veteran sergeant from being singled out in challenges, because the chaplain can accept rather than him. And so giving him that thunder hammer is a lot less of a concern at that point. And it definitely opens up a lot more tactical flexibility for that squad, because power swords are only really good against enemy infantry. So if you're dealing with like guardsmen or other marines, a power sword is fine, but anything tougher than that, you're really not going to have much luck against like terminators if you're trying to fight them with power swords. So giving him a thunderhammer and kind of hiding him in the squad, now they can attack vehicles, and he can pretty much one shot enemy transports. Against enemy like monstrous creatures or HQ units, they're going to be a lot more deadly. And against anything tougher than a marine, they actually stand a chance now. So I think that's a pretty good upgrade. Another thing I was considering doing, this is kind of weird, I was having a really hard time finding any information about this, but it should be legal, is that he has a thunderhammer, which is a one-handed weapon, a specialist one-handed weapon, and then he's got a bolt pistol. You can swap both of his weapons out for pretty much any melee weapon you want. And so obviously with his chainsword, we went for the thunderhammer. With his bolt pistol, I could potentially swap it out for another specialist weapon, such as a lightning claw. And so what that would allow him to do is, you can't attack with both profiles in the same attack phase. But what you can do is, one, get a bonus attack for either weapon that you choose to use, because they're both specialist weapons, the lightning claw and the thunderhammer. And secondly, it would allow him to be even more versatile, because now he gets to choose which weapon profile he uses. So that means against anything that wouldn't require a thunderhammer to take it down, you use the lightning claw, and now you're re-rolling to wound, I believe, because I think they have rending. I need to look at the rule, but a lightning claw is going to be much more effective against lighter infantry. And then against anything heavier than that, you choose to use the thunderhammer profile. And because he's got 2 attacks base, being a veteran, he'll get 3 attacks now because he's got 2 specialist weapons. And so that's either 3 thunderhammer hits or 3 lightning claw hits. And obviously the lightning claw is hitting at initiative. So that's a pretty cool pretty cool loadout that I've been considering. The thing too that makes that even more enticing is that on the Vanguard veterans, a lightning claw is only 5 points. So with the extra 10 that I don't have, I don't know where to put it, I could throw 5 more points on the Vanguard veteran sergeant, give him a lightning claw and a thunderhammer, and then he's attacking 3 times with either one of those weapons depending on what he needs. Obviously he can't shoot anymore because he doesn't have a bolt pistol, but honestly, what are you going to hit with a bolt pistol anyways? Like, he's got the rest of his squad shooting, so 4 other guys, and then if he's running with the chaplain in the 1850 point list, then there's also a plasma pistol in the mix. In the case of this list, there's no chaplain, so he doesn't have that protection anymore. But I assume that with Lysander and Pedro running around, the enemy's going to be a little bit too preoccupied with them and everything else to worry about the sergeant of one of my veteran squads. Obviously I'll need to playtest this, but I assume that should work just fine. Again, if he has the lightning claw, then that becomes less of an issue, because if he is challenged, then he just attacks with the lightning claw at initiative. Only issue with that is in the 1850 list, I would have to find 5 points for him to take that lightning claw, because I don't have enough room on that list. But on this list, I do. And so that's something I've been considering. The final change that I made is on the 3rd scout squad. I decided that two sniper squads was enough. Basically what you use the snipers for is you put the camo cloaks on them, you sit them in cover on an objective in your area of the board, and they just take pot shots at people, try to take out important characters, and basically just hold that objective for you. And the camo cloaks give them a bonus to their cover save, so that they're really difficult to kind of dig out of that spot. But you don't need a bunch of those, obviously. I mean, how many objectives are going to be in your starting area? Not very many. So I figured throwing the sniper rifles away and taking a teleport homer instead with the standard bolters made more sense for this squad, because that allows them to sort of be a probing force. They can get out in front. They do have infiltrate and scout, so they can get pretty far up the board into the enemy territory. they still have the camo cloak, so they can dig into cover pretty well. And then with that teleport homer, they'll basically be able to spot for my Terminators deep striking, which is obviously really, really helpful. And then with the bolters, they'll be much better equipped for fighting in short to medium range because of rapid fire and all that. So I think that is a much better use of the 3rd Scout Squad. But feel free to let me know what you guys think. Again, I have 10 points open here, so I need to figure out where to put them. I'm thinking of 5 for that Lightning Claw, but then I got 5 more to figure out where to go with. And then obviously on the 1850, if I want to do the Lightning Claw, I got to free up some space somewhere. But anyways, that's pretty much it. I actually did not intend to go nearly this in depth, but there it is. So anywho, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to check out the blog. I will continue to update the blog, obviously, and then I will post videos occasionally, every so many blog entries I do, just to kind of update you guys on where it is, or introduce people who may not know that it's going on to it. But yeah, thanks for watching. Looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say about all this, and I will see you next time.